just a good story. He said to move on and keep going. Imagine we had one more life, one more shot at sunrise. A raise when things start with new eyes. Heartbreaks ain't tragic goodbyes. Wanna dance wild. Kept a coffee cup on my nightstand. Not to reminisce, just a reminder to never go back to the life we shared. Anytime I'm feeling the urge to look at a picture, oh, I get so confused. 'Cause I swear I am so over you. My mommy told me that we shouldn't worry. Daddy told me just a good story. He said to move on and keep going. Imagine.
One, two. Coming off the top, y'all know how we do. Listen, I'ma drop a freestyle you can cherish. I'ma send a shout out to the host named Eric. Yo, he's never on some average shit. You know Eric, he stays loud and passionate. I'm about to break it down for y'all with the clever song. Yo, shout the host named Thomas, cause he's never wrong. Yo, shout to John, you know that he's smart and quiet, unlike my freestyles, which cause a riot. I'm about to do it like this, cause the people love me. Shouts out to PHP the ugly. It's called ugly cause it's not professional, but I'm about to come through and bless it with style. So let's do it when I'm spitting, I perfume the room. Yo, the segment of the show is called Doom and Gloom. That came from Thomas. Yeah, can nobody go beyond this? I get the mic and then I'm about to keep it like a promise. Yeah, and y'all know we fill them up with anguish. We talking about the PHP, the programming language. About to break it down, no exaggeration. What do y'all do for a living? Web applications. Okay, I can dig it, my words spray tight. They getting together on the Thursday nights. Yeah, when it comes to rhyming, you can call me the new dude. I spew true lyrics while y'all broadcast on YouTube. So let's get it, you know my lyrics are major. All up in the comments, they got plenty of haters, but they doing what they doing. Keep it ugly, we ending every show with the saying it's lovely. Let's go. Hey, shout out to y'all, peace to the whole squad, man. Hope your channel is doing real well on YouTube. Hope you guys are having fun. And it was an honor and blessing to do this little custom freestyle for y'all. Hope you enjoy. Stay up. Yeah, come on. Hey.
June 8th, 2023. This is episode 338. Let's do this. PHP Ugly, baby. It's Thursday night. You're listening to the PHP Ugly Podcast, a weekly podcast where me and some friends of mine get together and discuss PHP, tech, our lives, our businesses, and everything else in between. I am one of those hosts, Eric Van Johnson, and you too can also be on the show by joining us in our Discord at discord.phpugly.com. We always rave about how important the Discord is to the show, and you can be part of it during the live show. You can contribute to the show as we're talking, and you never know where the show will go. The show's made a little better thanks to some support by some sponsors. JetBrains PhpStorm and honeybadger.io, as well as our very, very, very close friends, our supporters on Patreon, and we'll talk about all of them a little later. If this is your first time watching or listening, welcome. Yeah, this is a pretty casual thing. And I got a dog squeaking a toy now. Yeah, Toaster's here. I don't have the toast cam set up, so that's going to be weird. Anyways, let's go ahead and get things started. With me tonight is my good friend and business partner, John Condon.
I thought maybe you were not including me in the show tonight. You're like, I'll just keep on talking. It's all good.
Did I talk for a while? Really, that's so unlike me to ramble too much. I still feel like I forgot to say something.
No, I think you covered it. I missed the mark. I thought about it while the show opening was going on. I wanted to run out and grab my dive mask to put on and be wearing.
Have your own little AR going on.
There you go. I feel like I'm underwater.
Man. Let's go and fire. Let's see. Do we have anybody in chat talking yet?
Not yet, but you did. But in your opening, you did say you could be on the show by joining. Well, you're kind of on the show. Your messages will show up over there. I can't point. We will probably respond to things you say because that's the kind of guys we are.
Yeah. Yep.
There's been some great chatter in Discord lately. It's
always is.
Been fun.
Always is.
Yeah.
Man, Toaster's in the office with me. I need to set up the toast cam. You talk. You keep things. You carry the show for a little bit. I'm setting up the toast cam.
You don't need the toast cam.
We need the toast cam.
Fine.
It's what brings the kids in.
No, it doesn't. It brings your kids in because they want to see the dog. Like they're sick of seeing your mug. That's the way it works.
Pickles.
All right.
Watch for toast as well.
Oh, okay. Thanks, champ.
You didn't get that? Oh, okay. You did get it. Okay.
What?
Oh, did Champ talk? Hey, Champ, what's going on, man? I said pickles.
Yeah, but look what he said.
Oh, jeez.
So we're not going to share that on the stream quite yet. We need to get at least a few minutes into the show because I think that's how the YouTube algorithm works. Just the way it is.
Just something to look forward to.
Yeah. All right. How was your week?
Dude, we have had the last week, it's just been like a podcast a day for us.
This is our third this week.
Yeah.
And one of them wasn't even ours.
One of them wasn't even ours. Yeah. And that actually got released today, too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got a chance to listen to it or not.
It's in a tab. I just opened it up.
Yeah. Yeah. So Andrew, who is a long-time resident.
Andrew.
Huh?
Not Champ Andrew, another Andrew.
Oh, yeah, not Champ Andrew. Andrew, a long-time resident in our Discord, had started his own podcast series called Citizen Coder.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been going for about a year now. He does interviews with people. And so he asked John and I to come on and talk to us. And I had a good time. I mean, it felt really good to kind of talk about some things.
I like how halfway through it turned into you interviewing him. You just couldn't. Yeah, you couldn't let go of the reins. You're like, I got to take over the show.
I didn't even realize, man.
Meanwhile, me being the quiet person, I'm just sitting back listening to you talk. I'm like, man, I'm enjoying the show.
Toast, you got to give me a break, buddy. You got to give me a break, girl. Here, look. You're on camera. Say hi. There's Toaster. You got Toast Cam today. Of course, she's willing to play right now. Although she might need to go outside. This is her new way of letting me know she has to go to the bathroom. She brings her little squeaky toy in. But she keeps bringing it back, so maybe she doesn't.
Well, you're supposed to do that before the show, not during the show.
I know. I'm a horrible dad. What can I say?
All right.
My kids would
So
attest to that.
you said it's been a busy podcasting week. We've done 3 podcasts.
We have.
We did record PHP podcast where
Mhm.
we got to talk a little bit more about PHP Architect and the magazine, and got to do another wrap up of tech like we've done on this show in the past.
Yeah. The PHP podcast one, if you're a subscriber to PHP Podcast, and if you're not, what the hell's wrong with you? Just subscribe. But the last PHP podcast that we did for the show, for the magazine, was actually a pretty important one, because we had a little bit of a printing mishap and needed to correct a few things. So if you are a subscriber who gets a print edition of the magazine and you're wondering where the hell is my magazine, go listen to PHP Podcasts.
That got sent to the printer today with the corrections. So if you didn't get your April magazine, you will get your April and your May. If you did happen to get your April magazine, you will get another April and May.
Oh, is there a chance some people got theirs?
I don't know. There's a tiny chance. Very tiny. Honestly, it may only be the very last person or two that subscribed. Actually, we don't necessarily do it in order of subscribers, but because of the way the numbering works, we pull everybody out of the database, and then they get basically an ID into this Excel file. It was traditionally year, month, and then just an incrementing number. So you would be, 2023 06 for this month, 01, I'd be 02. The problem was last month, we did 2 prints in 1 month because the code was written to take in the current year and day, year and month, not the year and month of the magazine issue.
Right.
So because we did it March super late, those people got a 2023-04 ID. Later in April, when we actually released the April magazine, they also got the 2023-04 ID, but there were collisions, obviously, because that's the way numbers work. And so the printer's like, oh, you've already used this number. We're not shipping it for you. Go away. The sad part is it's still like code from the 90s, right? I have to send them an Excel file. They submit it. Then the results from them submitting it go to an FTP site that I have to go FTP and get the files to review.
Is it really FTP?
Yeah. And everything's just always worked. So I've never bothered to go get those files. Maybe I should. Hindsight being 2020. So I will do that.
Yeah. So short of it is there was a screw up with the magazine in April, which was actually very confusing to John and I, because we had bought a bunch of magazines to give away at PHP Tech, and those got delivered. So we're like, well, yeah, they got printed. Ours got delivered. Just they might be running behind. And John and I never got our personal one. So we kind of we're like, John was wondering, he's like, did I cancel? Maybe I canceled ours because I knew we were coming to Tech. But then we started getting calls, and so
which
that
reminds me, I should have canceled it this time, but I still let it go through. So you will still get your April issue, Eric. I know you don't have enough of them.
I've got like 18 of them. Actually, I don't. I don't think I brought any home with me. I think I threw some in the plushie box with the elephants. For if we go to like another conference or something, we have some magazines to give out. But yeah, I don't think I brought anything home with me.
The problem is all the elephants are in the trailer, aren't they?
We didn't send those back home? Well, yep, that's what they're at then.
I mean, we have more here in storage.
Right. Yeah. Oh boy, that was
Yeah.
fun.
All
It's
right.
so weird.
So,
We have no access to that trailer for a year. That's so weird.
I mean, we have access to it, but
Yeah.
we can't walk outside and
Anyways,
go look at it.
let's
All
move
right.
on.
So you talked about podcasting. You've talked about our screw up. What about the rest of your week? You had to have done some coding.
Oh yeah, I did a lot of coding. Matter of fact, I had you on call for pair programming because I had to dive back into event sourcing, and
But you never pulled me in on any.
I did not need to pull you in. Fortunately,
I mean,
yeah,
we got to talk a little bit about it prior to you diving in, like strategies and parts of it, but we didn't actually pair.
No, we didn't pair. We didn't pair at all, and everything seems to be working. So I'm happy. Maybe you and I can pair sometimes. I'll show you what I did. The reason why is it wasn't like anything really complicated I was doing. We were just adding some additional flags to the API. But with event sourcing, it's not as easy as saying, okay, there's this new column in the database, accept it and move on. With event sourcing, there's a lot of legwork that has to go in, and I still find myself questioning all the time. It's like, this is not worth it. Like, is this really worth it? This is not worth it.
It's not in production yet, and you don't have people asking you questions yet. To me, that's the gold mine right there.
I'm waiting for that. I'm really waiting for that. I am nervous though. Let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
You've been in event sourcing for a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys use all the same database for your product in your events?
Yes, we do.
And
Not necessarily.
You don't.
Good.
You don't run into an issue with that, huh?
Not yet.
Okay.
I mean, we have multiple tables for our events, so it's not like all the events are in one table.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like each aggregate gets its own event table, and then the projections go in wherever they need to go. Yeah, it's just worked for us. We've talked about implementing an actual event store or event database, something that's specific to event sourcing.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't. We don't.
And I'm not clear. So I think it's even called like Event DB or something. Is one
event store DB, I think.
Is it Event Store DB?
I think so.
I'm not clear what the advantage of that is. What's the selling point? Like, what are you getting with an event source database?
I'm not 100% sure, other than it's built specifically to store this data. It's I don't know what the ultimate advantage is. I haven't used it yet, so I can't tell you.
Fair enough.
Aw, look at Toaster.
Sleepy Toast. That's Sleepy Toast. Yeah. So what else you got going on? Yeah. So yeah, I did a bunch of event sourcing, which I felt bad because, like I said, it was just some simple flags, and I was really the bottleneck of this project. Like, we're talking weeks. It took me to implement these simple flags. A lot of it's because it hit me right before tech, and we just got so overloaded with tech. John and I were literally spending every day, all day, like doing tech stuff. So I felt really bad. I was pretty much holding up the team, trying to get these flags done. And I really should. I told myself I would do more of this, but I'm very selfish. I really should lean more on the team to do it. Like, it's what we pay them for, right?
Yeah.
Plus, we have
part of having a team,
right? And we have people on the team who are willing to jump in there. They have some experience with event sourcing, and they're willing to jump in. I don't know what's wrong with me, man. I like start coding something, and I don't want anybody else touching it. I'm just really weird about that.
You let me jump into phptech.tv.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't my most favorite thing to do, but
it wasn't your smartest decision you ever made. Why is Honey Badger bothering us? Oh, John's coding again.
Pretty much, yeah, that was it. But yeah, I gotta be better at that. Yeah. Speaking of the team, I've gone like madman on Notion. We've been talking about Notion for a long time, and I had started playing with it, looking for another solution for Evernote, because Evernote really wasn't doing it for me, and I wanted something I could do Markdown in. And Notion kind of popped up on my radar, and I played with it, but it really was like clunky, didn't feel right at all. And I'm like, this isn't going to work. And I all but gave up on it. Like, I was pretty much done with it. And through like a weird series of events, we started using it for the magazine workflow. And we had implemented it in a really kind of good way at the time. I'm sure we can probably do better now, but it really helped us do a lot of things. So instead of like trying to find a tool out there, like a project management tool, I love my project management tools. If you listen to the show, I do not like my project management tools. I hate them. But instead of trying to like shoehorn it into an existing project management solution out there, it just, we didn't want to do that, and we were trying to do it other ways. And then in Notion, we just built our own workflow. And it was really nice because we could add whatever we needed to add, and it worked out really well. So I hung on to it for a while. Still didn't really use it. I've been trying to use it with the team at PHP Architect, like when we do our weekly meetings. But it's still like, I'm still like, whatever. It just wasn't doing a lot for me. And then John mentioned to me, he's like, hey, did you hear Notion has this projects workflow now? I'm like, whatever. I'll take a look at it. And dude, I spent like 3 days on this, like just tweaking the hell out of my project workflow. And like, I'm so excited about it. I called John up this morning. Dude, I want to show you what I worked on last night. And then like, after like 20 minutes of rambling, John's like, that's nice.
No, it was really cool. The stuff you built that you got in there. It's going to replace an Excel spreadsheet that we were using for tech.
Mm.
It's good. We've been using it, like you said, for the magazine for a long time. It's been a great tool. Does a ton of stuff, and there's so many YouTube videos out there about Notion and how to use it, from your to-do list to project management to an Evernote replacement, like you said. Just so many ways you can use this thing. We're probably not even scratching the surface of it.
Yeah. And they're not a sponsor of the show, so we've probably talked about them for too long already.
Why don't we talk about the sponsor that we should talk about, the one that's been bugging you because I code in your project?
Let's go. Let's talk about them. You want to talk about them?
Play your video.
Okay.
I should add it queued up, but I don't know where it's at.
It's right here.
And now, a word from our sponsors. Classic Tom. That did look infected, however. You probably should have somebody look at it. Oh, hi! If you know me, you know I'm somebody who literally wears a lot of hats. I'm a podcaster, a publisher, and a coder. What I'm not is somebody who has a lot of time worrying if their site is giving their users problems. That's why I use Honeybadger. Now let's be honest, Honeybadger is a sponsor of the podcast, but that's not why I feel good talking about them. I've been using Honeybadger for years and couldn't be happier. Honeybadger has a suite of monitoring tools specialized for developers. It's the only system that combines monitoring, uptime, and cron heartbeat monitoring into a clean, fast interface. Honeybadger offers a generous, free tier, and with just 2 lines of code in about 5 minutes, you can start monitoring your application. Personally or professionally, it works for everybody. Honeybadger can help you identify and fix problems sometimes before the user even knows there's an issue with your site. And at no cost to sign up, it's literally free for peace of mind. So go over to honeybadger.io and sign up for a free account today. What's going to hurt? If somebody asks you, tell them the Ugly Squad sent you. Now I got to get back to podcasting. I got these co-hosts I need to talk to.
And they are co-hosts. I don't care what anybody says. I'm the host because I'm cooler than all of them. Thank you, Honey Badger. Guys, don't be rude. Thank Honey Badger. Ugh.
Thank you, Honey Badger.
You, Honey Badger.
I love that commercial. I don't care what you say about it.
Oh God, I
think it's
hate that
fantastic.
commercial.
I got a message out of the blue after last week's episode, from my niece, and we talked about my family thing with my newfound half brother, right?
Right.
But she starts talking to me about kind of that and some things that we said on air. I'm like, "Aw, you listen to our podcast?" Oh, I said she was 25. That's what it was. And she's exactly 20 years younger than me. She's like, duh, 47, 27. Like, so I realized she listened to our show. I'm like, "Oh, you listen to our podcast?" And she goes, "I was really disappointed that Eric didn't play his Honey Badger commercial."
That's nice.
I was like, "Wow, you do really watch it. That's crazy."
Yeah. So I figured it would be. I should have said something at the top of the show, but I didn't. So for anybody who's listened for a while, Tom is actually has been away. We explained why. I don't need to rehash all that. He just needed a break. But we are in contact with him. We actually talked to him before the show today. He's doing a lot better. He's feeling a lot better. So
he shared a picture in Discord earlier today.
What?
Yeah.
I totally missed that. He shared a picture in Discord?
Yeah, of himself and his puppy.
I totally see. I've got to pay closer attention to Discord during the workday. Yeah, so he's doing better. I think he's gonna. Oh, look at the puppy! Oh, puppy! Yeah, I think he's going to be back soon. But yeah, he's definitely taking care of himself, which we're really happy to see. He's doing well. So yeah, I just want to make sure everybody knew that we are still talking to Tom, still hearing from him. So things are going well.
All right, we were talking about event sourcing, and Jeffrey asked, "Is event sourcing strongly used in the industry?" Basically, really needs to start diving into it. Is it strongly used? I don't know. The places that need it, yes. The places that don't, probably should to an extent. This is another one of those techniques / technologies that you can go too far on. You start using it, and all of a sudden you have to event source everything. Is that the case? Probably not. But there are certain things that make a lot of sense to event source. For the main application I work on, we deal with contacts or leads in a user's account. They upload these leads, they call them, they need to keep in contact with these people. Things change about those contacts from what folder they're in to who on the team is kind of assigned to them, their address, phone numbers, just anything you can think of in regards to a contact. And years ago, we had nothing. It was the information got updated in the database and you were done. Then, people start saying, "Well, why did this happen?" Or customer service comes to us with, the user says they did this, but we're not seeing that happen. So we didn't do event sourcing at that time. We did an audit log. So as things changed in the database, we inserted records into another table to say, okay, this contact was moved from folder A to folder B. The person who implemented that at the time took cues from other services. I don't know if it was GitHub or Rike or something where you would update comments, or you would add a comment, you would change it. And if you did it within a short time frame, they didn't store that middle step. So they would say, okay, you added this note, even though you went through 2 or 3 iterations of it. So they did the same thing to try and cut down on records in the audit log. So if you move a contact from folder A to B to C, our audit log says you moved them from A to C. Is it the end of the world? No. But in our case, possibly, because if you move somebody into a specific folder, that could have other consequences. I keep using the folder, but that's just my big example of how the audit log has failed me in the past, where if I were event sourcing, you don't get rid of events. Events happen. I moved a contact from folder A to B. Now I moved a contact from folder B to C. There's no question. You're done. I absolutely love event sourcing. Eric's questioning it, but he hasn't seen the power of it yet. Where he's about to start on a second project for this client that must be event sourced, in my opinion. And you're gonna love the fact you got to practice on this application. And when this application actually gets into users' hands and they're making changes and they say, this didn't work the way it's supposed to, you can say, well, I can say that you did this at this time and it did exactly what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not that I don't like it. I mean, I love the concept of it. It's really, if you're curious, Jeffrey, it's really something that if your application needs to have some sort of accountability for what's in your database, like you have to know how data got to the state it's at, not just accept the fact that, oh yeah, this column now says that the sky is green, and you need to figure out, how did the sky get green? Like who changed this, when they changed it, and what happened, what was the series of events that caused that. That's where event sourcing shines. So there are very real world needs for event sourcing out there. So it depends on what sort of job you're looking for. Are you going to come across a lot of startups out there that are trying to event source their stuff, or mom and pop shops? Maybe not. It's not a horrible thing to know how to do, though.
Right.
But
it's just another tool in the tool belt, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And if you can break that out at the right time, you're going to be loved when things work. It adds time to development. There's no question about that. Sevi asks, what's an example where event sourcing is not appropriate? I mean, the quick examples are, you have simple tables that hold, a list of states or a list of countries or data that doesn't change. Probably don't need to event source. Outside of that, it's really hard to say. It's all trade-off of development time. What is your core business use? For my application, phone calls and contacts are core business. So event sourcing that stuff makes perfect sense. Event sourcing, when a new system, because they do white labeling of systems, event sourcing that data, probably not necessary. You create it, it doesn't change, it's probably fine. It's all judgment call, end of day.
I mean, honestly, I don't even think it's so much a judgment call as much as a budgetary call, a budgetary limitation. I mean, if you've got the money, you've got the developers, there's...
Once you get your head wrapped around it and you start doing it, it doesn't add that much time.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is, what I keep thinking about is, we're not going to bring in a junior developer who can pick up that code base and work in it. It's just not going to be a thing. It's going to take training, and I think,
training or very super well-defined tasks.
Yeah.
it's going to be, but that's usually the case with a junior developer anyway. They're coming into a fresh code base. They're not going to know where everything is. So you need very tightly defined tasks and almost pointing like you need to look right here in this file, this line. This is probably where you're going to find this issue.
Yeah. 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 I go back and forth on it. Like I appreciate it. I understand why it's there. I don't know if the client is ever going to appreciate it. Ideally, like you said, it's going to be one of those things where something happens and event sourcing is, kind of comes to the rescue, and then the clients, we're going to look like absolute heroes at that point. But yeah, I like it's just like when you're under the gun, when you got the client saying, "I want this, I want this, I want this," it's like, God damn. I mean, I don't want to have to touch 14 files because I want to add another flag. That's the exaggeration. It's more like four or five files, depending. But it's just like, I just don't, you don't want to do that. It's like, it's a hard. I want to like it. I honestly do want to like it. I'm having a hard time caring about it. But I did have a question for you.
Mhm.
I think we've asked this in the past. And you touched on it a little bit. I don't know if I've ever gotten a clear answer, and I don't know if you have a clear answer yet. So if you don't, that's fine. Aggregates. What defines a new aggregate? Like why? Like I mainly have one. I only have one aggregate in my system, and I don't know when I'd want another one.
To me, an aggregate is core to your system, core to what you're building, and stands on its own. So you have one aggregate because everything in that system depends on the main thing. It's an event, which is weird because it's event sourcing, but everything around it relies on that. So to me, it's one aggregate. In my application that I work on, we have multiple aggregates from a phone number itself. A phone number can live on its own, and we track from when it was purchased and who owns it and a bunch of information about it. We have a new thing called a number pool, which basically is a user saying, I have a group of numbers and here's how I want to treat them. But we treat it separately because a number can live on its own, a number pool can live on its own, and the number can kind of move between number pools. So it's a separate thing that gets associated together at different points in time. Eventually, I'd like to have contacts as their own aggregate because we would only be tracking the things that happen on that, and that has nothing to do with the phone number. I mean,
Right.
In this particular case, obviously a contact will have their own phone number, but in the case of the number aggregate, it's numbers that the user has bought and owns. So it's just different pieces of the system, and each thing is its own aggregate.
Right. Interesting. I do love event sourcing talk.
Yeah.
What else? What have you been working on, though? We talked about me. What have you been working on?
Let's see. I got to go flying today.
Congrats.
That was fun.
Apparently that was successful. You're back.
It was successful. I got to tie my longest flight at my local little mountain that I fly. 38 minutes. Did 2 flights, a 15-minute flight and then a 38-minute flight. Had a weird thing happen. It was either this week or late last week with my old instructor. I'm not taking lessons anymore, but I'm still part of a Telegram group with a bunch of pilots from the school, including the instructors. And I made the mistake of being bold enough to ask a question. I asked a question.
I have a feeling that didn't go well.
It did not. It did not. It went so bad. There are 2 instructors. They're a couple. and she went to Turkey to do something, and I happen to remember her talk about reverse running, which is on the ground. You've got your wing in front of you. You're facing it, so you're running backwards to bring the wing up above you. For some reason, I remembered her saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward a few days, I watch a lot of paragliding videos. I happen to see somebody launch that way. They are facing their wing. You can see the windsock. There's no wind. So they run backwards, bring the wing up above their head, then turn and launch.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked a question. I was taught when there's no wind, you face away from the wing, like it's behind you, and you run forward. So I asked the question in there, is there a reason to do one or the other?
Mm-hmm.
My instructor jumped on me. He told me, he basically said, you need to come see me. This is regress, not progress. And you need to get away from Little Black, which is the hill by my house that I fly most often because it's close and convenient.
And free.
Well, I mean, they're all everywhere, but Torrey Pines is free. But it's like, he's got this long post, and I was like, yeah, I want to fly other places, and I have a couple of times, but I have a wife, kids, job, responsibilities. I can't just up and drive, an hour or two and fly for hopefully an hour or two.
Right.
It's just too much time out of my day right now. At this point in my life, I can't do it. And he comes back at me, like there's this back and forth with, I have friends that have kids and they fly all over the world. Okay. That's not, it was this weird back and forth. It was so bad that two other people that are in the Telegram group
Mm-hmm.
private messaging me and like, dude, I'm sorry. That's not right.
Is he normally like that?
He is very in your face. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen him yell at people, like especially students that transfer in and say they're a P2 or they have their P2 rating. He makes them do additional work to prove that they're a P2. And if they make any mistake, he starts yelling at them. You're supposed to be a P2. And one of the people that reached out to me, about this said that they saw him yell at a tandem passenger. So you can go down to this glider port, Torrey Pines, and pay to go fly with a professional pilot. These people aren't pilots themselves, right? They just want to go enjoy a flight because it looks really cool. But it's freaking scary if you don't know what you're getting into. And a girl got paid, or somebody paid. She got harnessed up to a pilot, and then she freaked out and said she didn't want to go. And I guess he yelled at her about it, like tore her up, and she started crying. I'm like, yeah,
What's the point of that?
That's not cool. Not cool at all.
Yeah.
All right. So we talked way too much about flying.
Yeah. But I do want to talk. I do. You touched on one thing about like the time commitment.
Mhm.
That's you and I started golfing, and I was really enjoying myself, and I really wanted to get more into it. It was the same thing, man. It's like there's a huge expense with golfing too. That's the other aspect of it. But we found some cheap little courses around San Diego, but it was like the same thing. I was like, I don't have time to spend an hour, 2 hours to walk around a golf course, and that's not even taking consideration the time to get there, time to go home, and yeah, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. I don't golf anymore because of that. I mean, to play a full round of golf, you're at 4 hours plus drive time there and back, and 4 hours is if you're not stuck behind people, right? If it's a busy
Right.
course, all of a sudden it's a 5-6 hour thing and expensive.
And expensive.
Yep. Yeah. Old
I know.
man
Let's get an
hobbies.
toaster. Yeah. Paragliding is every old man does that. Like, yeah. What are you talking about?
I'm telling you, the guys that I flew with today,
Yeah.
friggin' all of them older than me, all of them in the air for 2 hours, where I flew for 15 minutes, landed, and then flew for 40 minutes. And they're up for 2 hours plus.
This dog is.
They just, I mean, they've obviously had more skill. They've been doing it longer. They have better equipment. Blah blah blah.
All right, we said we're done talking about.
We are, but Jeffrey just said I want to learn how to fly a plane. I recommend learning, but again, expensive. Flying a paraglider, you're less than 10 grand all in. You have equipment, you go fly most places for free. You hike up a mountain, you can launch and fly. Flying an airplane, oh my god. I was lucky enough to get my license while I was in college, and then flew for a little bit after that because, kids think they can do anything and have all the money in the world and just fly. But man, is it expensive. You start talking about renting a plane at probably $100 an hour plus. It's not cheap. But it's fun.
All right.
Yeah.
So we do have other sponsors.
Yeah. You want to talk about
them?
I do, because I got to use their services a lot today.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, to explain.
Thank you, JetBrains, creators of PhpStorm and lots of other IDEs and lots of other really cool tools for teams. PhpStorm is the tool for professional PHP developers. I mean, it's a tool for any PHP developer, don't get me wrong. They have student pricing for if you need an IDE for school. They have, I believe, nonprofit pricing as well. And if you really want to be on the cutting edge, their early access program, you can download it and start using it. But it is a fantastic tool, and it's come to my rescue so many times recently. For their ad, PHP is a cutting edge IDE tailored for PHP and web developers. If you haven't used it before, or it's been a while since you've last tried it, now is the perfect time to check it out again, because it has received significant performance enhancements and an expanded feature set. Curious to see if it's the right fit for you? Head to www.jetbrains.com/phpstorm to learn more and try it out with the 30-day free trial. Code smarter, not harder. All right, that's their ad, but the IDE itself is fantastic. It's gotten me out of jams so many times with the local history. I love the Git conflict resolution interface, auto completion, the little shortcuts to make coding faster and easier. There's just so many things to love about it. I've actually been doing a lot of live peer review lately. So instead of opening a pull request, assigning to somebody and saying, hey, go review this code, we've changed that now because there's that delay. Somebody asks you to do a peer review, and if you don't jump on it right away, that pull request can sit there and get stale, right? So we've decided to start saying in Slack, hey, is anyone available to do a live peer review? And then you get into Zoom or Slack or something. You both pull up the code. You get to explain what it's doing. They get to review how it's doing it, make suggestions. You can fire up code with me, so you're both looking at the same exact code at the same time, which is fantastic. And then I love having people that are smarter than me, because most developers are, but getting in there, they're like, you could probably do this. You should do this. You can't do it that way. You have to do this. I'm like, crap. Do you just want to do the job for me? It would be so much easier. It would save us both time. No, it's not that bad, but it is a fantastic tool for doing code review with that code with me.
If you're
just-
somebody who used PhpStorm in the past and haven't looked at it in the last couple of years, it's about time to take another look at it. It's really kind of, the performance has increased a lot. The interface, the UI is just very nice now. So yeah, if you haven't checked it out recently, give it a look.
Mm. Thank you, JetBrains and PhpStorm. Appreciate you.
All right. What else we got to talk about?
Oh, Jeffrey misses Tom. You had asked me to mention PHP 8 point. I don't know if it's 8.2, the JIT compiler. We enabled it in a microservice.
Oh, right. You were telling me about this. Yeah.
So I've got this little Laravel app that is literally just API endpoints that the main application calls, asks questions, and it hits a database and responds with some information. It's basically a proxy to the database because at the time we didn't have access to that database. Oh my gosh, we turn on the JIT compiler, literally cut the request time in half.
What?
It's 2 lines in your config, enable it, and all of a sudden you got this performance improvement. It was ridiculous how easy it was.
And there's no caveats to it, like, oh yeah, don't enable it if.
I haven't heard of any. I'm not saying that there's
Really?
not, but it's it really was a. I've seen articles on it. This has been the only application that's of this client that's on PHP 8.2 at this point. They're still working on the main legacy app, getting it ready for PHP 8. Hoping that's done soon, because seeing performance increases like that, it's like I would take 10-20% easily. If I can get 50% speed improvement, please.
Why do you think it's not a bigger thing?
Well, 8.2 just came out, right?
Well, 8.2, but the JIT compiler's been around since 8, right?
No, I think it was 8.2.
Oh, did it just come out in 8.2?
I believe so.
Oh, I feel like they've been talking about it for a very long time.
Actually, I do see versions 8.0. PHP 8.0 brings support for the JIT.
PHP JIT.
I don't know.
That's like fibers, man. Everybody's hyped up about fibers, and everything I'm reading about, I'm like, wow, this sounds like a great idea. I don't know how I'm going to use it, but with the JIT, the JIT compiler, you didn't have to change anything in your code, nothing. You just enabled it, and now it just runs.
Yep.
What?
It's a couple lines in your config. You enable it, set your JIT buffer size, and I mean, this is where I get confused. I know we had opcache enabled. Maybe we didn't have it on this Laravel app. We use opcache on the legacy app for sure. Maybe if you don't specify the JIT buffer size, it's not enabled. I don't know.
I mean, is this something we should be looking at for more clients?
Well, once they get on PHP 8, yeah. I know we're still working on that with our main 2 or 3 clients. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, opcache is a huge thing already, but it seems like the JIT compiler boosts that even more.
Wow, that's crazy. I need to play with this now. I really need, that's because I know, like, even like Tailwind has some sort of JIT compiler as well, where it would just like compile the elements you need in your CSS when they were called, and it's supposed to like have this crazy performance increase. But it just never made sense to me. It's like it's a styling sheet. I don't really need a JIT compiler on my styling sheet. Like, I have enough complexity compiling it with npm, but Yeah, but PHP makes a lot of sense. Like
Yeah.
that just seems like a wonderful idea. I have to play
Yep.
with that some. Cool.
Definitely. I can't wait to get that client on PHP 8. I know we've tried a couple of times. We're hoping to get to do it again here soon once their sales season slows down a little bit.
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things we have is like we have to wait between sales seasons to do anything with them.
So with the other client, they have somebody that is dedicated to doing this upgrade, but they're doing it much more focused instead of, oh, let's just upgrade PHP and see what breaks. They are using PHP stand to make sure everything is as clean as it can be, trying to figure out what will and will not work in PHP 8. They're going above and beyond. So not only is it going to be PHP 8 to ready, that it's also making the code better in the long run. Having the static analysis has just been so nice. It's kind of proving that your code is doing what you say it's supposed to do versus what you think it's supposed to do, which makes it really hard with legacy applications that had dynamic properties added to objects, which we did way too often.
Which is now deprecated.
Well, part of that is that active record, right? Active record makes that really hard to control, especially with the library we're using. Again, written originally for PHP 4. It's now been made to work in PHP 5 and 7 since then. But it works by adding dynamic properties. If you query just a table, it's fine because the base active record knows the columns of that table. But if you do any sort of query where you don't know what columns you're getting back, or you're getting back, you're doing a join and you're getting back 2 or 3 columns or tables worth of data, right now it just adds dynamic properties to an object. It's like, oh, you want the address? Okay, it's now in this column or in this field. That breaks in 8.2 because you're not allowed to use dynamic properties. Probably not a problem with whatever ORM or active record library you're using at this point in time. Using an old one like the one I'm using, it's a pain in the ass. But because it's so ingrained in the application, it's not like we can swap out that workflow.
Yeah.
So
I got another question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on named values?
Named values. I don't know what those are. Or it's not coming to me right now.
Is it, am I saying it wrong? Is it not named values? Is it named arguments?
It probably is. I don't know. Are you talking about when you call a method, instead of putting the arguments in order, you name them?
Yeah.
I don't know. I hate it, but I also understand it.
Named arguments. That's actually what it's called. Yeah. Good call.
Yeah. I get it. It is very useful when a method has a lot or multiple optional arguments and you only care about passing the last one. But there are some people are using it for every function call they use, whether they're calling it the way it's supposed to be called or not. And I don't know. I'm not a huge fan personally.
I can't figure it out. I can't figure out if I like it or not.
But
I don't like looking at it initially, but then I'm kind of like, maybe I'll use it.
I say that, but at the same time, I'm the person with PhpStorm having the arguments turned on where I always see what the parameters are that I'm passing in. So
that's actually why I started using it, because I would do that thing. PhpStorm would do that thing where it's letting you know it has a recommendation, and then it'd say, "Oh yeah, make this a named argument." I'm like, okay, whatever, make it a named argument. I don't care.
especially with methods that pass in things just like true, false, or
Mhm.
numbers, or where you don't have context, you don't have value objects being passed in, or some other class. You're just passing in raw values. I can see there being a lot of value to it. I use value twice there. Whoops. Uh, and I'm sure if I started looking at it more, I'd get used to it. But I'm also old school. I'm like, "Well,
Yeah.
I'm passing in everything it needs. It's in the right order. Why do I need to name them?"
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know where I'm at with it. I again, it's like it seems like a good idea, but it's like when are you ever going to use that? Like if you don't know the order it needs to be sent in, then maybe you shouldn't be using the function.
Well, like I said, when you have multiple optional arguments and you're only changing the last one, it makes a lot of sense, because otherwise you have to pass the defaults in up until the one you want to change.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's convenient in that case.
Mhm.
PhpStorm already shows me what is supposed to be in that argument spot, so I don't have to name it. But if I did, I'm sure it'd be fine.
Yeah.
Eh,
See, Drac. Hold on. Actually, before we get to track, let's bring up our supporters on Patreon, since they are so I keep forgetting to put music on that thing. Thank you, supporters, Patreon supporters.
yes, thank you so much.
You were actually a topic of our podcast interview. We talked about you guys and
On
how
Citizen
important.
Coder. Yeah.
Yes, Citizen Coder. So I'll keep that up for a while, sir.
And our patrons knew about my half brother weeks before we announced it on the show.
months. It had to
Not
be at least a
months.
month.
Yeah, maybe a month. But
Yeah.
when I first teased it, I was so excited I was going to talk about it, and I couldn't like do it publicly like this. So I did write up a little blog post and shared it with them.
I still gotta make that Patreon supporter clip a little longer. I keep forgetting about that. All right, Track. Yes. What do you think about Symfony?
Symfony components, amazing.
I would say Symfony's pretty much used everywhere. I would like to get into the framework piece of it. I really would. I just don't know. I just don't have the time I used to have to do that sort of thing.
I mean, it's hard because you kind of bought into the Laravel ecosystem, right? Which uses a lot of Symfony components.
Yeah, it's built off Symfony. Yeah.
The main project I work on is a homegrown framework built on a lot of Symfony components. We have a ton of them in there. So it's hard not to already have an understanding of Symfony. But like you, it would be nice to build a project with Symfony itself. I have no reason not to, other than we don't do a whole lot of projects from scratch. And when we do, it's kind of like, yeah, we'll just use Laravel because it's what we know.
Yeah. And it's just so easy. It's just so easy to spin up and just get something running pretty quick. So yeah. Symfony. If you're into Symfony, I mean, stick with it. It's a great product, great framework, great ecosystem. I mean, they have a company behind it. It's a lot of good things. Neither of us have really gotten the time to do it justice and spend some time with it. So thanks for the question.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling Buttery should never step foot in the U.S. Champ is threatening him. Champ's a good guy. And don't worry, Buttery. He's not that good of a shot. So you're fine.
Pickles will stop him anyway.
Pickles will stop him.
Was it Pickles? Is that what you came up with?
Yeah. I came up with something else initially. What did I initially say? I forget, but I like Pickles. I settled on Pickles. Pickles is a better name.
We're talking about his daughter, by the way. We got to meet her.
Yeah.
She's
not named Pickles, by the way.
She was funny, and it was late, and she was beyond tired and just giggling and laughing.
Yeah. She was a goofball. All right. What else we got to talk about?
He said, I meant shotgun like
Pepper.
calling the passenger seat.
Oh,
We didn't really think you were threatening him with a shotgun.
my current wife reminded me. Initially, I was calling her Pepper,
That's right.
and now I settled on pickles. Yeah.
That's a really great
Oh.
profile picture of hers in Discord.
Yeah, she's up. She's been baptized in the bath of PHP when she went to tech. She's getting into it, man. She's enjoying herself.
We have a whole board of PHP Tech 2024 stuff to start.
Yeah, we sure do. Yeah, that's exciting. This dog
Yeah.
is driving me nuts. All right. What else we have to? Anything else? We got anything else to talk about? I don't think we've I don't think we put anything in show notes yet.
I have
Have you?
Mr.
Oh, look at
I'm
you!
the-
Way to go! Way to go! Good job.
What can I
You
say?
found a JIT one? Yeah. Good. This is all good. You do good. You do good work. All right.
Well, I shared one and then somebody else shared the second one in Discord, so I just threw it in here.
And once again, Discord making the show a little better. Appreciate.
I've had this one. I've had this one on my list. I'll just clear it off here and talk about it.
Let's do it. I'm in no rush.
No, I know. I don't know enough about it, to be honest, other than it's scary. Security itself is scary, but I guess attackers have used an abandoned WordPress plugin to backdoor websites.
Awesome. That's so awesome to hear.
But we've seen this happen with countless other things, from like Composer and NPM, and like anything that you use to install software. If you're not careful and do your due diligence on upgrades, it's so easy to get into that trap of I'm just going to auto upgrade. And if something or someone compromises that third party, the Composer package that you install, if that gets compromised and all of a sudden you upgrade to the latest version without knowing what you've upgraded to, all of a sudden you're possibly leaking all of your data. You're giving people access to your code, your database. It's so scary. I don't know how you do it with the team for that one client. The other client, every Composer upgrade comes through in a bump with what's called a bump PR. GitHub has the ability to watch your Composer and your npm files and say, hey, there's a new version available, and they open a pull request against your code for that so that you can go look at it and approve it. And we make a point of actually looking at the commit log and just doing a quick cursory glance, one to say, yeah, this shouldn't affect us because we should know how we're using that package for the most part. Or look at the changes they're making and say, well, they didn't touch any PHP files, they're updating docs. Or, yeah, they updated the namespace, and you can quickly glance and see no big changes. But if there are significant changes, you should also be able to catch those and try and see, are they all of a sudden making system calls? Or are they all of a sudden doing something they shouldn't do? And it shouldn't be, if you're staying on top of your upgrades, it shouldn't be too tricky to keep up with looking at the code before you accept the automatic update. So I guess WordPress had the same thing. They had an abandoned WordPress plugin that was installed on tons of different WordPress sites. That plugin author went away. Somebody stepped in, created the same name, and now all of a sudden they were exposing information they shouldn't have. Scary, super scary.
Yep. Hate to hear it.
You come to tech, you get scared about losing data off of your computer.
Oh, that's like, don't ever go out and have a beer with Eric Mann. Jesus Christ. Okay.
I kind of want to do, so in the April issue of the magazine, I know we've talked about it already, but how scary easy it could be to access somebody's Docker database containers, and how easy it is for people to run a local development environment, but use a copy of their production database because it just makes things easier. I did that for years. I get it. But if you don't check your own connections, if you don't try to attack yourself like an attacker would, you don't necessarily know what you're leaving open. And part of me wants to go to coffee shops and try that. Like start going around to people, hey, do you work for so-and-so? Because, you know, you might see the information in their code base or their database. Or do you have a database table named this? And have them look at you like either complete blank and you're like, oh, never mind. You move on to the next person to ask. And then all of a sudden they look at you like, what? Like, yeah, you might want to read PHP Architect magazine. Give them a copy of it.
Yep.
That would be fun.
Totally.
I want to try that. I'm not going
Buttery.
to, but I want to.
I need you to get your article in. We've been waiting too long for your contribution to the magazine, Buttery. And anybody else out there who might be interested in writing for PHP Architect, we are looking for feature articles. So we pay money. We pay good money, real money for your work.
And you don't have to be an expert. You just have to want to share information. You learn something on our show. I just last week talked about Paceto tokens versus JWT tokens, and you want to learn about them? Great. Take what you learn, turn it into an article for us. We'll give you some money.
Yeah. So just reach out to John and I, Eric at phparch.com or John at phparch.com.
No,
and,
right. WRITE at phparch.com.
I was trying to make it all personal, like we were friends or something. But...
We're friends, but if you're going to do it personally, send it to Eric at phparch.com. It's going to get lost in my inbox or never seen. Email is stupid and evil and shouldn't be used.
I do hate myself. Roman, you're going to write for PHP Arch? All right. Let's go.
It's just not going to be good. By the time it gets into the magazine, it's going to be phenomenal. Don't worry about that.
We'll make it good. We'll make it good. I barely tolerate. Never mind. I want goddamn magazine, Roman.
I want somebody using a Raspberry Pi with PHP to do something cool. I know we had a whole Pi series. He's not going to listen to the show. I'm going to give my son, who is turning 9 on Sunday, a Raspberry Pi. I have a whole kit of like a breadboard and a bunch of electronics coming. And now I want to figure out, what am I going to have him do with it? Like, what is he going to build?
I'm hoping. Some idea. I mean, I don't have PHP ideas, so that's
not necessarily PHP. I'm saying I would like that for the magazine, but in general,
So the coolest thing, and there's a whole setup for this. Jess Archer works for Laravel, but before she worked for Laravel, she worked for other places. No, you remember that? Who was that person I took that course with? That Mark, where you
Mark Rober.
Yeah, she had taken, I guess, the first iteration of that, and she put together something I thought was super cool, which would be a great project for you and your kid. It was a little moisture sensor that you would put in a plant, and if it detected that the plant needed water, the plant would ask you for water. So it also had a motion sensor. So when somebody walked by it, it would check to see if it needed water. And if it needed water, it would say, "Hey, I'm thirsty. Give me some water." I'm like, it's not that hard. And I'm pretty sure she used to have all her stuff up on GitHub on the code and the piece of equipment. I'll see if I can find that for you.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
Although the Pi I'm giving him is the keyboard one, so it's not really gonna go so
well.
Dude, man,
freaking love this thing. It's right here, sitting right here, right behind me. It's actually has me using my Pi more often. It's so weird. I don't know why. I wasn't interested in getting it from you. I was like, man, I've had a Pi for years. I always run it headless. I never have it, interface to it. But this last one, I installed Manjaro, but I still did it headless. Like I knew it had a desktop, and I just never worried about looking at it. It wasn't a thing for me. And so you gave me this keyboard. I'm like, all right, well, I got this display. Let me see what this desktop looks like. And it's just like I'm using it all the time now. It's so much fun. It's a great little computer.
Yeah. I'm hoping he enjoys it. Because right now he uses a Chromebook at school. And he codes in Scratch, but the Chromebook is so underpowered that his Scratch code is so like jumpy. It's like,
I didn't even know you could use Scratch on Chrome. Really?
I mean, it's in the browser.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
So we made a little game. I mean, it's nothing fancy. It's a bird flying around eating watermelon and apples falling from the sky. But just that moving around, all of a sudden there's this like little glitch where it pauses for half a second, and then you're like, damn it, I'm trying to move here. It's just not smooth. So I thought maybe this would help do that, because a lot of the tutorials I've seen say, yeah, you could use Scratch on it. I'm like, okay, give them something to try.
I think Scratch is installed with the Pi OS. I think Scratch is installed by default. Yeah.
See, I've only done it via the web interface. I didn't know it was its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
So now I got to learn something new to teach him, which is good. I can learn, maybe.
Yeah. All right, that's it, John. I got to wrap up, man. Got to move on. Got things to do. I'm a busy guy. I've talked to you way too much this past week. Way too much. All right, cool. Anything else you want to say?
No, it was a good one.
It was a good one. Thank you, as always. Discord, hang out for the after show. We're not going anywhere. But for now, this is going to do it for episode 338 of the PHP Ugly podcast. I'm Eric.
I'm John. Keep it ugly. I went to cue it up.
I already had it up. I
actually 1, 2, 1, 2. Coming off the top, y'all know how we do. Listen, I'ma drop a freestyle you can cherish. I'ma send a shout out to the host named Eric. Yo, he's never on some average shit. You know, Eric, he stays loud and passionate. I'm about to break it down for y'all with the clever song. Yo, shout the host named Thomas, cause he's never wrong. Yo, shout to John. You know that he's smart and quiet, unlike my freestyles, which cause a riot. I'm about to do it like this, cause the people love me. Shouts out to PHP the Ugly. It's called ugly cause it's not professional, but I'm about to come through and bless it with style. So let's do it when I'm spitting. I perfume the room. Yo, the segment of the show is called Doom and Gloom. That came from Thomas. Yeah, can nobody go beyond this? I get the mic and then I'm about to keep it like a promise. Yeah, and y'all know we fill them up with anguish. We talking about the PHP, the programming language. About to break it down, no exaggeration. What do y'all do for a living? Web applications, okay, I can dig it. My words spray tight. They're getting together on the Thursday nights. Yeah, when it comes to rhyming, you can call me the new dude. I spew true lyrics while y'all broadcast on YouTube. So let's get it. You know my lyrics are major. All up in the comments, they got plenty of haters, but they doing what they doing. Keep it ugly. We ending every show with the saying it's lovely. Let's go. Hey, shout out to y'all. Peace to the whole squad, man. Hope your channel is doing real well on YouTube. Hope you guys are having fun. And it was an honor and blessing to do this little custom freestyle for y'all. Hope you enjoy. Stay up. Yeah. Come on. Hey.
Yeah, I did have SoCal in there. SoCal
titles,
Kid.
people. Titles.
We got titles. We need titles. Exclamation point title in whatever your title is. Would be fantastic.
Jeffrey, run and grab yourself a Guinness. Let's see. We were talking about Scratch. Kalen says it's been a couple of years. Champ said there's a steep learning curve. No, they're talking about Home Assistant in that one. Sorry, I've been actually thinking about Home Assistant with a Pi. I want to look into that.
I have it installed. I use it for a while, but I don't know. It's just too many things. It's just
so I have a what is that? I can't even remember the name of it now. I don't know. Big name. Now I got to look it up. Dang it!
You're not even giving me anything to go on here. I don't know what you're saying.
I don't know either. It's right here.
And that's right. You had something on like
Smart
an iPad
Things.
or something.
The Samsung Smart Things.
Yeah.
That's still freaking on my wall, doing nothing. I installed this thing. It's gonna be great. So I put a Android device on the wall by my thermostat, and that was going to be my central place for all my sensors and knowing what's open and closed and all that, and it was working fine. And then I changed out my Smart Things for the Smart Things mesh router system, and then all of a sudden I was on a new version or something, so I had a completely separate network. So now, as I added things, I had 2 different networks of components, and I'm still in that phase because I'm too lazy to go remove it from the old network and add it to the new one. And my vision has just gone kablooey, and I'm like, screw it. Now I just want to throw it all away and just get something that's pre-configured, like a Ring service or whatever, that has all the sensors already built in for you.
Yeah, don't use what is it? ATM? What is it? Wait, what's the security people? Shit, I'm gonna have to look them up now.
I don't know.
They're so popular. It's who I have. I moved into it. So here's the thing. Like, I moved in to this house, and they already had this security system installed, but it clearly was not activated with the company. So they were just like using it for like the self-host thing, right? It was just like it would sound an alarm, but it wouldn't call anybody. So I called them up.
Yeah.
Thank you, Champ. Yeah. So I called them up. I'm like, hey, I have all these sensors installed. Like, whoever had done it, I don't know if there's people that lived here or if they paid someone to do it, did a pretty cool job, because they like have the sensors like built into the window frame. So there's like no like bolts or anything sticking out. And there's like a motion detector in here. And so I'm like, okay, I'll bring ADP in here. I'll pay for some. Now I think my current wife is right. I think it's actually ADT. Is it ADT or ATP? ADT. The current wife is correct, Champ. You don't know what you're talking about, and you're ugly. But yeah, it's ADT. So I'm like, all right,
how do you push that down?
Huh?
Dang it!
What's going on?
I was trying to get stuff to scroll on off the screen. So, Champ, I thought the same thing when he said it, but I didn't write it in the chat.
Yeah, I'll give the current wife the credit she deserves there. So I'm like, all right, I'll just call them. I'll pay for them to enable the service. I'll add some cameras, and of course they come out and they go, oh yeah, no, we can't use any of this equipment. This is all out of date. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like window sensors. Like, what's out of date about a little fucking window sensor? And none of this is going to work. And,
Like, it's a contact, for crying out loud.
exactly.
It's an open close contact.
I really didn't want to think about it because at the old house, I'd done it myself with the whole Nest cameras. I'd set up a bunch of Nest cameras and I was happy with it. I just didn't feel like doing it again. So I went and paid for this.
Plus, it was already there, right?
Yeah, it was already. Well, that's the thing is I thought it was going to be simple, and then it just turned into this. Oh yeah, you need to upgrade your base, and we can't use the window sensors, and we can't use this. We have to add new door sensors. So I paid for it, and it's just been horrible. Like it works, but like the cameras is what drives me crazy because that's what I was like the most dependent on. And like the cameras, they don't record. It's not a continuous recording anymore. You've got to set up these rules for it to fire. And even then, if it fires too many times and you get too many recordings, it just stops recording. I'm like, how the fuck is that a security system? Like, if you're going to record the shit, you're not giving me security. So, I need to call and cancel it. I need to do it when I can replace the stuff, and I just haven't had the energy to do that yet. Among all the other things I'm doing. You want to hear something weird? Maybe you know the answer to this. You've got a fairly new house. Did you guys get a new stove? How old is your stove?
I don't know. It was here when we got here, so it's at least 7 years old. It was probably a few years before that. So I'm gonna say 10 plus.
So as somebody who prides himself on tech and understanding technology, I've been getting things lately like I don't understand how they work. And the stove we have in this house, which was here when we bought it, it's like a genie. It turns the fan on automatically. Like when it senses it needs to turn the fan on, it turns the fan off. When it doesn't need it, it turns it off. It turns it on, turns it off. I'm like, how's it doing that? Like, it's not like we're burning dinner and there's a bunch of smoke going up in it, which we've actually done before. That's the one time it actually worked. They called us because our fire alarm went off. But
ours goes off so friggin' often.
Oh, really?
And oh my, it's so sensitive. Like, I cook almost anything and it goes off.
I'm a tall guy, right? And so I was very happy to move into this house because we have high ceilings. Like I can't touch my ceiling anymore without getting like a step stool or something. And our fire alarm went off, and I'm like looking at, I'm like, I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna get to the thing. And I had to go find a little stool and get up there and take it down. And I got ADT calling me, and oh god, what a pain in the ass that was. But anyways, our stove, the fan just kicks on and off. And I'm like, how is it doing that? It's the weirdest thing. I don't know how it does it. And it's funny because like almost at the exact moment where I'm thinking I should turn the fan on because I can turn it on. There's a manual the way to turn it on manually. I'm like, I should turn the fan on. Like the moment I think it turns on.
So
I don't know how it works.
It's tapped into your mind, not actually anything on the stove.
Yeah, I'm sure that's it. that makes way more sense than anything else.
So the way our house is configured from the stove straight up is where we have a smoke detector, which is outside the kitchen, but it's at the highest point of that ceiling, but it's also right there where the stoves, any smoke goes up. So I never even bother climbing up to try and do anything with it because there's also one in our hallway, like 5 feet away.
Uh-huh.
So we just open up all our doors. I start fanning the smoke detectors right there. Like, I mean, just make it stop. And me fanning it probably has nothing to do with it stopping, but it feels like it does, so I keep doing it. But I feel like I just need to move the one at the very highest part of our ceiling, like away 5 or 10 feet. And just because it's in the direct path of anything from our stove going up to it.
Right, exactly.
It's
Yeah,
like, no, there's really not a fire here.
congrats to my NorCal kid. They moved into a new place this week. Very happy. They moved out of their studio and into a little 1-bedroom. More importantly, into a nicer neighborhood. Because man, oh man, they were paying their dues this past year. I tell you.
Jeffrey brings up the Apple Vision Pro, and I actually have that on my list. And I know I made the joke about having my swim goggles on at the beginning, but we didn't talk about that at all.
Because I don't care about it.
I know. I guess we talked about it on Citizen Coder. Go listen to our thoughts over there.
That's true. Yeah. Are you interested in that thing?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Not for $3,500. I'm not.
Yeah, no way, right? $3,500 is crazy, and you have your Apple fanboys who are going to run out and get it.
I know. It's like I want an Oculus, and that's way affordable compared to the Apple product, and I still won't buy that because I can't see myself putting that on that often. I had one years ago with where you put your phone in it, and it was fun, but it was more gimmicky than anything. And then I tried having my father-in-law put it on, and he did it for like a minute, and it was like he was freaked out. He was like, "No, I'm not doing that again."
Yeah, we have a good friend, a common good friend who was just basically selling me on the Oculus, whatever.
Oculus.
Yeah, hard. And really saying it's a business expense. Like, you have to get one of these because this is going to impact your industry. I'm like, and I came really close, but I shared. Listen to Citizen Coder. I shared to you why I don't do VR. Hey, I'm going to step away. I don't know. You want to end the stream? I got it. This dog, I think, has to go outside.
Yeah, I'm done for the night. I'm exhausted.
Thank you for hanging out with us, everybody. We do appreciate you.
It was a
I'm
good
gonna
one.
end the stream. We're gonna blame this one on Toast Dog and NorCal Kid. I will ping you momentarily.